Psalm 137:1-9, a dirge of emotion and reflection by former captives, NASB. This is a psalm of reflection, which gives thanks to the God of heaven for his enduring mercy. The psalmist is reflecting on Israel's captivity, where they once sat by the rivers of Babylon and wept over their great loss of the beautiful city of Zion with its former magnificent temple that has been reduced to little more than rubble. Now a remnant is back in the land and, here, as they labor to rebuild that glorious structure, their harps, amid the desolation, remain silent. Those who had plundered us dared request for a joyful song of Zion, said, "Sing for us one of the songs of Zion." But how could we sing the Lord's song when we were in a strange land where our minds were bridled by vengeful thoughts, which belayed the mind obsessed with revengeful thoughts against Edom, the ones who demolished the great temple, down to its very foundations? As he remembers Jerusalem, the psalmist allows his vengeful human emotions to spew a curse on the daughter of Babylon, that they and their offspring be destroyed in godly retribution. We don't know when the psalm was composed, neither is there mention of the author's name, but there can be no doubt that it was composed by one who was an exile from Babylon, who had witnessed and now shares in the suffering of those who were held captive, including himself, who probably had personal and vivid recollections of the wrongs done to Jerusalem. There is a great deal of Jewish devotion focused on this psalm by a poet who had also a dynamic recollection of the wrongs done to Jerusalem when it was leveled and destroyed by the enemies of God. The writer was a Jew to the center of his heart, a Hebrew through and through, embodying and expressing his emotions in this short psalm with all the patriotism that a devout Jew would experience toward their homeland later, and do so with so much Jewish devotion that is found focused within this psalm that it reflects such a profound and submissive silence. There was so much grief and loneliness connected with Israel's desolate condition in Babylon, it would seem most probable that the psalm was composed soon after their return, and perhaps before or during the time that Zerubbabel's temple was completed, coupled with the ruins of the city brought on by the Edomites and Babylonians. All of this added to the poet's deep and burning indignation. It is one thing to read about the bitter feelings that embodied most of the Israelites who were held captive by such a savage and remorseless governing entity, one that delighted in barbarities against the helpless. This is a song that may be better sung today by the Jews at the Wailing Wall, since it expresses her grief and sorrows that were hitherto unmentionable. Still, it remains an obscure psalm within which tender exuberance flickers with a compassionate, warm glow, leaving the singer in complicitous wonder. Psalm 137:1, by the rivers of Babylon, there we sat down and wept when we remembered Zion. The psalmist reference here is to a somber time when those who have gathered for worship, or perhaps a special holiday, sat by the banks of the river and reflected on their days of captivity. This large crowd gathered to reminisce about Zion. Out from under the thumb of their captors, it is most probable that these captive Hebrews, as in the previous diaspora, were not scattered throughout the nation, but rather were concentrated in a few neighborhoods within the city. The word picture being presented to and from the group is one of contemplating with meandering thoughts of their native land, joining in their common lamentation, mingling their memories and their tears, they wept. Thinking of Jerusalem and its former glory and the destruction done to it, and probably thinking of the temple, which is now in ruins, their homes devastated, commingled with the thoughts of happy days which were spent in Zion, now contrasted to the condition of the Hebrews' banishment from the city and her forced servitude beneath the shadow of the temple of Bel, her vulnerability under a harsh enemy. The anxiety expressed by the believing Jews was not concerned over the loss of their temporal goods so much as that of their sanctuary, which was the focal point and a visible sign of a crucial aspect of Israel's national life and their true worship.